Hello, everyone. Konrad's news segment of the week. Hope everyone is bundled up and warm because it is very cold here in Austin, Texas, and most parts of the United States. Let's jump into it. The Doge, the famous Doge, has accessed the Social Security database and has found some very disturbing information about Social Security recipients. Um, it's interesting to me, fellas, how we have people collecting Social Security payments that are 110 to 120 years old. 3.5 million people, actually. 130 to 139 years old. The 4 million people here in the United States. 6,000 people that are 170 to 179 years old. 220 to 230-year-olds, there's 1,000 of them that are collecting Social Security payments. One person is 240 to 249 years old, and the complete outlier is one person is in the age range of 360 to 369 years old, and they are collecting Social Security payments. I find that very interesting. Very, very, very interesting that our money is going to these people that are collecting Social Security payments, and they're living to be 200, 300 years old. So, yeah, good work, Doge, on finding that. Additionally, Doge said they had found $4.7 trillion in payments from the Treasury Department that were made without an identification code, meaning anytime that there's a particular receipt, you're supposed to have an identification code showing where those payments were sent to, made to, because it wasn't a required field. So it makes it almost untraceable where $4.7 trillion have been sent and spent the last couple of years. With that, Doge had made the announcement to the Department of Treasury. The Treasury Department made that a required field now, that in order for a payment to get processed, you had to input the tax code, the specific code for that money to be sent to the proper recipients, where before this was just money that was thrown out there to they don't know where. $4.7 trillion, ladies and gentlemen. That's taxpayers' money. If any of you are fans of the Sean Ryan Show, shout out to another podcast. I know Dylan is a huge fan. I'm sure you've heard of it too, Hilton. Paul, have you ever heard of the Sean Ryan Show?
I've heard the name. What?
I'll send the link. They just had a very interesting guest, Palmer Luckey. He is a CEO of, and I forget the name of the company, but he's a CEO, and he broke down some interesting stats regarding the USA and China and the different comparisons that between the two countries. China has a 350% shipbuilding capacity over the United States, meaning that they can build ships, and this isn't just cargo ships, but this is also military ships, faster, better, and stronger than the United States. So in order for us to keep up with China, we need to step our manufacturing and building game up. Additionally, war situations, if there was obviously I know Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, has talked about it before, but if there was ever a war situation against the United States and China, how China would just devastate the United States, the stockpile of missiles that the United States has would run out in 8 days. Meaning, if the United States used all of their missiles, it would be gone in 8 days. China just has to play the waiting game, and they would have full reign to do whatever they want. Another step for the United States to get back into manufacturing. On a positive note, one thing that Palmer did discuss about was AI-powered missiles and how AI is really advancing warfighting technology and will be the future of the American soldier moving forward and how that technology is being implemented right now. Very interesting stuff. Another interesting thing, United States and Russia had preliminary talks to end this conflict in Ukraine. The senior officials from both countries met in Saudi Arabia, which Saudi Arabia is now trying to position itself as a modern-day Switzerland, where they are staying neutral to both sides and encouraging senior officials, presidents, dictators, whoever, to come together and talk and find a resolution to various conflicts. So U.S. Top officials and Russian top officials met in Saudi Arabia and discussed future plans on how to finish and end this war in Ukraine. Moving on to Texas news, fastest growing industry. And I know I always say I loved Paul's stat as far as skilled labor work as being here in Austin as the number one thing you can do. Well, now we have some very interesting data points as to the fastest growing sectors in Texas. Number one, state energy had an increase of 5.5% growth. Finance services, 5.1% growth. And construction job growth, including landscaping, new construction, home growth, 3.1%. Tech reported a 0% increase in it. So it was a net zero increase, decrease with all of it. So for the past couple of years, tech has been the top dominating sector in Texas. No longer the case. Lastly, some interesting news. Hutto is going to be implementing and buying and doing research air-to-water technology. Air-to-water. There is the company is called Aquaria, and what they do is they have a filtration device that pulls water from the air, collects it, filters it 6 different times, and it produces clean, drinkable water. Currently, the commercial unit is about a 70-gallon tank, when the industrial units that they are producing will be available in the next couple of months. So this is a game changer for water. I know we were just talking about that, Paul. So there are a couple companies out there that are trying to solve that issue. Gentlemen, I'm going to leave this open to you all. What do you think of some of the topics?
Very interesting. That's a cool concept, pulling water from the air.
I thought so.
As you mentioned, I am a huge fan of the Sean Ryan Show, and I believe he's the CEO of Andril Industries.
Thank you. That was the...
But he also is the guy that created the Oculus, the VR headset, and he started that project when he was about 14 years old, sold it to Facebook for $2 billion, and then he got into defense contracting, so he makes weapons for the United States government now. Really cool stuff with the missiles. I was kind of diving deep into that subject. So on board on the missile, they'll have AI technology that can scan and it can hunt through stuff undetected because of the stuff that's on the missile itself. So he's a really rare mind of the stuff that he thinks out, and he had a lot of influence from sci-fi. It will be interesting to see how it progresses.
I like
AI with the military.
I like this air-to-water thing. I've heard of it. It might have been we talking about it briefly the other day. But what staggers me is the amount of money that is being collected for 300-year-old person, 200-year-old person, and that's...
Yeah, they need to rewrite this whole who lives the longest, because obviously the United States is just kicking everyone's ass.
And we're a blue zone. We got to be.
Yeah,
right.
There's one old lady whose family was in the Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War II, and she's still needing to collect her Social Security check.
It's incredible because we think that this kind of corruption only happens in other different third world or in underdeveloped countries, and you see that everywhere. So that this is not a common thing to the U.S. I've heard of it in UK when I lived over there, and I heard things on the European Union when I was out there in Europe. in Brazil, of course, and now over here. So it's a thing that I keep on, hearing that it happens. So it's incredible.
Yeah, and you get into that water separation out of the air. I've heard a little bit about it. Some of the irrigation classes and stuff we go to. It's interesting to see how that works. I mean, we all know there's water in the air all over the place. So
Absolutely.
I don't know a whole lot about it. We've heard about it. I'm interested to see how it goes. But you're on that subject of water again. Something I did forget to mention, and everybody has the capability of doing this that owns a home. Something we don't do a lot of. I've been taking classes the last 6 to 8 months on it, and we're fixing to offer it as a service as well. But rainwater collection barrels.
Yes.
It's not as easy as just putting a barrel below your gutter and putting a bucket under to catch the water. There's filtration purposes to it, overflows, drainage, proper cleaning of the water. And that's another water-saving thing that we can do in this world is collect your rainwater. I don't care if you've got a very small property. You tell me you have no space, I'll find it. There's ways to collect this rainwater. You can put pumps on it, gravity-fed, however it is you want to do it to utilize that water for your plants and your yard and stuff like that. But this whole air restriction of water out of a thing, man, I'm very interested to see where that goes and what comes of it. The question I have behind that is what's the cost to get it?
And actually, that was one thing that I didn't bring up, and I have
Because the last thing I want to hear is, yeah, we've got water for you. It's $100 a gallon.
$10,000. It's $10,000 for the commercial use for 70 gallons. $10,000.
That's pricey.
It is pricey, but when you think about it, I mean, 70 gallons for a household. I mean, that could be completely independent, and have your own water. That's
but
kind of interesting.
In retrospect, 70 gallons doesn't go very far.
Yeah, how long does it take to fill up?
And that's a good question. That was something that wasn't discussed.
Well, I'm just going off a reference, kind of out of the box thinking here a little bit. I got a 60-gallon water tank on my RV.
Right. And you can't be taking long showers. You can't be doing
taking military showers, that kind of stuff. And gentlemen go restroom outside or wherever, the ladies inside. And with 4 or 5 people in an RV, that 60-gallon tank goes away in about 2 to 3 days.
Look,
so 70 gallons at $10,000. I mean, yeah, you really got to ration that water.
But I believe
that is the cost of a system is not the cost of 70 gallons of water.
No. But that's the cost
it will
of the
be
system to get it
replenishing.
done.
Right, and I believe the constant extraction or the extraction of water from the air is nonstop. Like it's nothing that you just turn off. But the actual tank itself is 70 gallons. So you might be a gallon of water, however many gallons it takes to wash your clothes or whatever, but it's continuously drawing water from the air to fill up that 70 gallon. It's not
and that $10,000 is the cost of it now. It's new.
Exactly.
Once they figure it out and how to do it and make it work properly, that cost will come down, evidently. I mean, everything else does.
Scale.
Yeah, mass produced and kind of things. Yeah. And again, it's the initial cost of doing it. It's like putting artificial turf.
But interesting news that you had there. I mean, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
Paul's approval.
No filter here, brother. No filter.
But it is out there. I thought the interesting thing that commercial or industrial use, and they didn't get into the specifics of how big the water tank is, but obviously a bigger filtration system or commercial, industrial, is going to be released here in the next couple of months. Obviously, I'm sure the website will provide more details to it as well. But I mean, that's something to be starting to see run businesses.
I'd like to circle back on that in 6 or 8 months and see where it's progressed from now.
Yeah, absolutely. George?
Got a couple points. Dylan, do you remember that we talked about that sci-fi concept of different civilizations that I shared with you, right? So we are in civilization 0 now.
Yep.
Right. So this is the kind of thing that turns us into a we are 0.7. That's what
Yeah.
everybody says. But being able to control different kinds of environments. Yesterday I was like working like crazy to 2 a.m. and I was watching at the same time this video that makes life possible under the water. You see, so this kind of thing, it's what it elevates us, because you can use all the energies available and improve this. So this is the first point. The second one about the scrutiny of these ridiculous ages and people, like it's been there since the beginning of this country, every single year, right? So, but now we have scrutiny. Like we are able to see with more details. I know because Tamiris does that service. Tamiris does her job is the Doge, right? So this is what Tamiris does at Dell. That's exactly what she does. So we talked about all the time, and many things are hard to spot like that with the technology you had before. Now with the AI and all the possibilities to investigate that, maybe you make it viable. Because sometimes it's harder. And I read several papers about that, newspapers about that, right? News about that. It's hard. It's more expensive to spot all those things and fix those things than actually keep them the way they are. So because they are so short, there's shortage, of manpower, that they can actually. Well, we have to choose what you're going to track. So it's always been there because 0.34%. That's the total. The 220 million were deviated, and then 20 million gave him back. So it's 20 million. So you pick up 200 million over 2 trillion, right? So it's 0.01%. What I'm saying is that like you work in this kind of thing. So with the AI, the new technology now, I think that's going to be viable. Because the AI can track that. The automation can do that.
Well, and to that point, and that's exactly what Musk brought up in one of the interviews. I believe this last one with what's his name, Hannity Combs.
Carter.
I forget his last name, but Sean
Hannity.
Hannity. Musk brought up. He goes, "We're positioning the United States to be a powerhouse of AI." I mean, J.D. Vance went over and had a brilliant 18-minute speech about convincing other countries to adopt AI and how the United States is going to be one of the powerhouses of AI. But yet when it comes to the government, we don't implement it, or we're not, don't use AI, don't find that information. I think it's very, hypocritical. We're telling all these countries, like, look at us, we're trying to be number one in AI, but then when we're trying to audit the country and find all of these issues, no, you can't touch that. Can't touch that. Leave that 300-year-old person to collect their Social Security checks. So Musk brought it up because, like, we need transparency. The government needs transparency where this money is going. We need to know where and why it's going to these individuals, or where the cost of everything is going.
And you'll never know.
But I think that's what they're trying to do is make this more open source. The Doge website provides receipts about everything that they are seeing that are excessive spending, so you can follow up with the receipts on the website. Not real time; it gets updated twice a week right now. But if you were to go on there right now, you could see various, payments that the government's made to, whatever it is. There was the U.S. aid scandal that was going on. Now Social Security. Now they're going to be going into the Defense Department, which that's going to hit home with me because I firsthand saw the amount of money was like, if we do not write that we spent this money, we won't get funding next year. So we need to spend every single dollar of it so our budget gets increased next year. And at the end of the day, it was like, okay, we stockpiled on a ton of shit, but in the long run, that all costs money. It all costs taxpayer money. That's, at the end of the day, that's our money going into it.
Yeah.
Till we get them tariffs, baby.
I just want to say thank you very much for joining Konrad's news segment. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was informative, and I will see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Adios.